מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. Good morning, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We welcome all of you in the other side of the screen. It's a great pleasure to be here leading services. So thank you so much for letting us into your home, or well, actually wherever you might be. You might not be at home right now. And we also welcome our wonderful team here at the congregation Shari Zedek. We're in the main sanctuary. Rabbi Matthew Leibel. Good morning.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Boker
Shalom.
Tov. Good to see you too, Rabbi Mas.
It's great to be here. Bill Weissman, Shames.
Shabbat Shalom,
Shabbat
everybody.
Shalom. Leslie Emery, one of our lay leaders. Hello.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. And, of course, we need a drum roll
Yeah.
to announce the one and only Marvin Polanski there in the corner. In control of everything. I have to be nice to him. Otherwise, he will just point the camera to someone else.
I think we all have to be nice to him.
So, and we have a wonderful Parsha this week. We finally become free. Finally, we leave Egypt. It's a great motive to celebrate. Of course, we are going to see many of the themes of this Parsha during the Seder for Passover. But the most important thing is, it's great to celebrate that we finally left Pharaoh behind and we became free. But it's also an opportunity before we start this journey of the service to realize that there are still so many things enslaving us, right? We might not even have a Pharaoh with a whip, but we have so many other Pharaohs in our lives. You want to tell you what your Pharaohs are? Just give me your phone unlocked for 5 minutes and I will tell you what your Pharaohs are. So it's good. It's good to take a few minutes to break free from all that and to open our hearts to God and to indulge our soul with beautiful melodies and wonderful prayers. So let's begin with our service. I would like to invite you to rise up because on page 5 of the Sidurim, we have the Birkot HaShachar, morning blessings. Again, please rise. Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Neshama, Shenatata bi, Shenatata bi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan la'asech v'vina le'avchem ben yom v'layla.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שעשני בצלמו.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך עולם, שעשני בן חורין.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך עולם, שעשני ישראל.
Amen.
Together. Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Neshama, שנתת בי, שנתת בי, טהורה היא, טהורה היא. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך עולם, פוקח עיוורים.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך עולם, מלביש ערומים.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך עולם, מתיר אסורים.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך עולם, זוקף כפופים.
Amen.
אלוהי, אלוהי, נשמה, נשמה, שנתת בי, שנתת בי, טהורה היא, טהורה היא. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך עולם, רוקע הארץ על המים.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך עולם, שעשה לי כל צורכי.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך עולם, המחי מצדי גבר.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך עולם, עוזר ישראל וגבורה.
Amen.
אלוהי, אלוהי, נשמה, נשמה, שנתת בי, שנתת בי, טהורה היא, טהורה היא. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך עולם, עוטר ישראל בתפארה.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך עולם, הנותן ליעף כוח.
Amen.
One more time. אלוהי,
Elohai.
נשמה,
Neshama.
שנתת בי,
שנתת בי.
טהורה היא, טהורה היא. And you may be seated. We haven't said hello to any of our friends on the chat. Who do we have there? Maybe Leslie, if you can help us.
I would love to. Welcome to David Wilder and Bonnie Robinson. Shabbat Shalom and happy birthday, Bonnie. Happy birthday, Hannibal. It's not your birthday, is it? Shabbat Shalom, Hannibal. It's good to see you. Stephen Cantor, welcome. Alice Wiseman, Bonnie Cham, Sandy Polanski, Jerome Foman, Murray and Sharon Nazen, Louis Stern. Welcome here. Good Shabbos to you all. Melanie Richters is here with Ryan and Sarah. And if Bridget is nearby, we send a warm hello to you and your family. It's so good to have you here with us this morning. Terry, good to see you. And Zelda, Alan and Gloria Cantern, Israel and Lori Ben-Noon, Deborah Barenhout, Rochelle Pinkovich, Eric Green. Wow, we have such a lovely group of people here with us. Judy Chirac is here, Earl Barish. And there's more. Rhonda Ewell. It's been too long. Good Shabbos to you. It's good to know you're here. If you are here and you've been visiting, say hi. Shabbat Shalom. We love to see you on Shabbos. Good Shabbos to Jackie Sipe, Karen Ackerman, Lauren Pollock and Sharon Pollock as well. Alina Lashev and Fanny, good morning to you both. Shabbat Shalom to Ian Rab, Josue Selva, Evelyn Hecht, and Donna Sarah from LA, California. Welcome here. Good Shabbos to you all, and thank you all for finding your way to Winnipeg this morning.
I like that, the way everybody uses initials here in North America, something that I have to learn when I move. You see, it's a Donna from LA, CA, USA, right? Yeah, I'm still amazed how society can function that way. Because
Do they not do initials like that in Argentina and South
very
America?
little. It's not the same. I guess you have so many words with the same initials that it's confusing at what point,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
right?
Yeah.
Anyway, but we love to have you all there. It's great. Please feel free to use the chat to send us messages or to talk among yourselves. This is exactly, we are trying to recreate the experience of coming to synagogue in person. We realize when people come to synagogue, some people pray, some people talk to each other, but it's all good. This is a house of gathering. It's a place where we all feel connected to ourselves, to God, and to each other. So welcome all.
Rabbi, if somebody's new to us today, what do you suggest that they do if this is the first time they've been with us?
Oh, okay. So if you're new to our services, we'd like to know that you're new. You know, when somebody's new here at the synagogue in person, we go the extra mile to make them feel comfortable and welcome. So if you are new, let's do something. Type new in the chat. So, and this is a challenge for all our regulars to make that new person feel just like home. Let's see if we can all do it. Okay? So, page 8, let's praise the name of God, Psalm 148. Hallelujah Adonai min hashamayim. Hallelujah bamrumim. Hallelujah kol malachav. Hallelujah kol tzevav. Hallelujah. 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 Shemesh ve'yareach. Hallelujah. Kol koch ve'or. Hallelujah. Shemesh hashamayim ve'amayim asher me'al hashamayim. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 kol malachav, hallelujah, kol tzevav, hallelujah, hallelujah. Please rise for the mourner's Kaddish, could be found on page 46. Yitgadal ve'yitgadash Shemei Rabba.
Amen.
Ve'elmad v'rach irutei ve'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Israel ba'agala u'v'zman kariv ve'imru amen.
Amen.
Yehei Shemer Rabba mevorach le'elam u'le'olmei olmaya. Yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitromam ve'yitnaseh ve'yithadar ve'yitale ve'yithalal Shemei dekudesha b'richu
Berichu.
Le'ela min kol birchata ve'shirata tushvechata ve'nechemata damiram be'alma v'imeru amen.
Amen.
Yehesh lama rava min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Israel v'imeru amen.
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 Ose shalom imruma v'yase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Israel v'imeru.
Amen.
Amen. You may be seated. We'll return to page 10. Second paragraph. Shochenat Marom. Shochenat Marom vekadosh shemo.
Shochenat marom v'kadosh shemo.
Befi yesharim titlal v'divrei tzadikim תתברך ובלשון חסידים יתרומם, וקרב קדושים תתקדש. Bottom of the page, חצי קדיש. יתגדל ויתקדש מרבה.
Amen.
בעלמא דיברה חירותה וימליך מלכותה. בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
יש מרבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל. שמות קודשה בריחו לעילם עם כל ברכתה ושירתה ושלחתה ונחמתה לעמירם בעלמא. ואמרו 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 Please remain standing for the Barhu, an opportunity to bless the name of God, the source of all blessing. Page 12. ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם יוצר אור ובורא חושך עושה שלום ובורא את הכל. You may be seated. So Leslie, what's going on in the chat? I believe we have a new friend today.
We do. We do have a new friend here. Welcome to Randy Delaney. We're so happy you found us today and that you let us know that you're new. I see you've been welcomed by many of our regulars here at Cherezetic, which is how we do here. We are a community, online, in person, however we can hold together, we're doing it. We've got Bonnie Robinson's birthday wishes rolling in, which is so nice. We love Bonnie. We're all big Bonnie fans over here. And we also have someone here in mourning. Karen Diane Ackerman is mourning the loss of Corinne Ackerman, her auntie. And we are so very sorry for your loss. And we hope we can help you heal a bit over here.
Okay. Thank you, Leslie. And by the way, to all of you, if you ever want to follow up your experience here at the Sherry Zedek, we have an email, which is hello@szwinnipeg.ca. We would love to hear from you after the service. So let's continue now preparing ourselves for the recitation of the Shema Israel. We have a beautiful prayer on page 13, second paragraph, והאר עינינו. והאר עינינו ותורתך, ותורתך, ודבק ליבנו ומצוותיך, ומצוותיך. והאר עינינו ותורתך,
בתורתך,
ודבק ליבנו ומצוותיך,
ומצוותיך.
ויחד לבבינו לאהבה ולידע את שמך, ולא נבוש ולא נבוש לעולם לעולם ועד. והאר עינינו בתורתך,
בתורתך,
ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך,
במצוותיך.
כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו, נגילה, נגילה, ונשמחה בישועתך. והאר עינינו
בתורתך, בתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, במצוותיך.
ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך שמו,
בוחר ועמו ישראל We turn to page 14, we cover our eyes and we recite together the declaration of Jewish faith, Shema Israel. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. We have a beautiful, beautiful English version of the first paragraph of the Shema Israel on page 15. Leslie, please.
And you shall love Adonai, your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And all these words which I command you on this day shall be in your heart, shall be in your heart, and you will teach them diligently unto your children, and you will speak of them when you're sitting in your house, when you are walking by the way, and when you're lying down, when you're rising up, when you're rising up, and you will bind them for a sign you may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God.
Please continue silently, bottom of page 15, the whole page 16, on top of page 17. Adonai Elohim Emet. And we turn to page 17. Let's sing together this beautiful anthem of victory, Micha Mocha. Micha Mocha Ba'elim Adonai, מי כמוך נהדר וקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף פלא. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר וקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. שירה חדשה שבחוקי עולים לשמך, על שפת הים יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. Please rise. צור ישראל ומפזרת ישראל, ותהינו מלך יהודה וישראל, עלינו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. ברוך אתה אדוני
שמו
גל ישראל. Please remain standing so we can continue with the Amidah, the central prayer, a time that should be used to strengthen even more our connection with our Creator. And to do that, we have a few options. Of course, we can always use the Hebrew and the English printed on the Siddurim, or you can also use your own words of prayer. Whatever works for you to take the next few minutes to connect with God, the Creator of the world. So we are going to start singing together the first three blessings. And after that, we'll continue silently, as I mentioned, Hebrew, English, or with your own words of prayer. Page 18, let's begin to chant this beautiful prayer together, the Amidah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם, למען שמו ואהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מקיים את אימתה, רב להושיע, משיב הרוח, מוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מקיים עדים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך מימית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמנת להחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה המתים. Bottom of page 20. נקדש את שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זמזם ואמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. אז וכל רעש גדול אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול, מתנסים לעומת צרפים, לעומתם ברוך יאמרו, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. ממקומך מלכנו תופיע, ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך וציון בקרוב וימינו לעולם ועד תשכון. תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים. והננו תורנו מלכותך כדבר אמור בשירי עוזך, על ידי דוד משיח צדקך. אם אלוהיך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור. Hallelujah. Page 22, second paragraph, לדור ודור. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו, מפינו לא יבוש לעולם ועד, כי אל מלך גדול, כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש. ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך הוא, ברוך שמו.
הקדוש Please continue silently, Hebrew, English, or your own words of prayer. Once you finish your prayer, please be seated. The Kaddish Shalem, page 32. יתקדל ויתקדש מרבה
Amen.
בעלמא דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי ויקייכון יום מקודו וחטא כל בית ישראל בגלה בזמן גרי וימרו
Amen.
יש מרבה מבורך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה ורק ושתבק ודרום ותנשא ותדר ותעלה ותעלה על שמדי קודשה בריחו לעין למקום כתב ושידתה תוש וכתה ונחמתה תמידם בעלמה וימרו אמן תתקבל צלותינו ותיאון דכל ישראל קודם אבון דבשמיה וימרו אמן יש למה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ואת כל ישראל וימרו אמן עושה שלום ממרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל וימרו
Amen. Yasher Koach.
ישר כוח.
Rabbi Mas, Leslie, Bill, thanks for a beautiful shacharit. I wanted to say I especially loved, and you shall teach your children. Is that what it's called?
And you shall love.
What am I thinking of? Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
You
That's
shall
what I'm
love your
thinking.
children.
And
Crosby,
you shall
Stills, and
love.
Nash are good
Right?
too.
That's okay.
Whatever it is, whatever you did.
Well,
I
thank you
liked.
so much. I
It was
love
really
Debbie
great.
Friedman.
That was a beautiful one, yes. Very good. Very good shacharit. Excited for what's next.
What's next?
A Torah service.
Oh, okay. Page 33. Please rise. ויהי בנשוא אהרון ויאמר משה קומה אדוני ויפוצו אויביך וינוסו משנאיך מפניך כי מציון תצא תורה ציון תצא תורה ודבר אדוני מירושלים ברוך שנתן תורה תורה ברוך שנתן תורה תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
אחד אלוהינו גדול אדוננו קדוש שמו.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Page 34. גדלו לאדוני איתי ונרוממה שמו יחדיו. לך אדוני הגדולה והגבורה והתפארת והנצח וההוד כי כל בשמיים ובארץ כי כל בשמיים ובארץ לך אדוני הממלכה ואני וינשא לכל ראש. רוממו,
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 אדוני אלוהינו, וישתחוו,
והשתחוו,
וישתחוו,
והשתחוו,
אדון רגליו קדוש הוא. רוממו,
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 אדוני אלוהינו, וישתחוו,
והשתחוו,
וישתחוו,
והשתחוו,
הקדוש, הקדוש, אדוני אלוהינו.
Yasher Koach, Rabbi Leibel and Rabbi Mass and Bill Wiseman. Thank you for getting our Torah service ready so beautifully.
And Yasher Koach to you, Leslie, and as well to Rabbi Moss. Thanks for a beautiful start to the Torah service there. I'm going to grab my stuff and make my way up to the Bima because I get to do the Torah reading today, which is good.
Always good.
We hope. So slide up here. And we can get ready for today's Torah reading. Or I guess I should show the book too. Let me grab the book. Here's our new book. We're switching so that you can follow along with the Torah service like you've been following along with the first part of the service. We need to go to the Chumash, this red leather-bound book called the Etz Chaim Chumash. That's what we use. But in case you don't have a copy at home, on our website, szwinnipeg.ca, next to the video player, you will find a link to Sidurim and to the Chumash. And every week we update with photocopies in a PDF format of the pages from the Etz Chaim Chumash, so you can follow along just as if you were here sitting in the pews at Congregation Shared Zedek with the actual physical book. And if you don't want to use the PDF versions on the website, and if you don't have an Etz Chaim Chumash, you can follow in any Chumash. We will give you the chapter and the verses so that you can follow along with us. As Rabbi Mas mentioned off the top of our service this morning, today's Parsha is the Parsha of the actual Exodus. Today's reading specifically will cover, it's called Bo, and today's reading will specifically cover what we're going to read today in the triennial cycle, the 10th and final plague, and really the rituals that became the first ever Pesach, or Passover, more on that in a second, setting the tone for all future Pesach Seders and Passover commemorations thousands and thousands of years later, like we do today. One of the biggest things that we still do today in Judaism. What did I mean by, we'll come back to it, that word, that name Passover? Do we have the right name for the holiday? That's going to be a big question in today's Torah reading. We call it Passover, right? Because why? Well, during the 10th plague, God passed over the houses of Bnei Israel when God went through all of Egypt and carried out the 10th plague, slaying the firstborn of every man, woman, and animal, except for Bnei Israel, because God passed over, right? Maybe not. We'll see. We'll see how that works out. Is Passover the right name? That'll be one of the things we look at. So, if you are following in the Etz Chaim Chumash, today's reading from Parshat Bo begins on page 379. We are in the book of Exodus, that's the book of Shmot, in chapter 11. Most of today's reading will be chapter 12, but we start with part of chapter 11, verses 4 through 10, for our Rishon Aliyah, our first of 7 Aliyot from the scroll of the Torah. Last week, if you were with us, you know we read about and studied the first 3 plagues, Dam, Sfardea, Kinim, blood, frogs, and vermin, lice. To catch you up between what happened since last week's reading and today, we've had the rest of the plagues except for number 10. So 4 through 9. Arov, Dever, Shchin, Barad, Arbe, Choshech, everything. If you don't exactly remember, you can go back and check it out. But there have been a whole bunch of plagues. And with each step, as we talked about last week, either Pharaoh hardened his own heart, or when it got to the point where God had to intervene and kind of step in there, God hardened Pharaoh's heart. But at each plague, Pharaoh says, yes, you can go. Just stop the plague first. They stop the plague. Pharaoh changes his mind. And here we are. And Moshe, as we pick up today's Torah reading, Moshe is still in Pharaoh's presence immediately following the 9th plague, which is the plague of Choshech, the plague of darkness. And God transmits a message to Moshe to give to Pharaoh a warning that the 10th kind of super plague is about to happen and what's going to happen. So that's where we pick up our reading for today. Exodus chapter 11, verses 4 through 10. We have a number of commemorations and celebrations as part of our Torah service today, which in addition to studying the Parsha is always so much fun. And we'll start off with our first Aliyah, an honorary Aliyah, Rochelle Pinkovich, joining us for this Rishon Aliyah. And Bill Wiseman will recite the blessings on her behalf. V'yazor v'yashil chol hachosim bo v'nomar amen. Hakol avu godel Eloheinu tnu chavod Torah tamod. Rochel bat Shaul HaKohenu mindel aliyah rishona. Baruch shenatan tramo Yisrael b'kedushato. Ve'atem advekim Adonai Elohechem chaim kolchem hayom.
Baruch Hu El Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. Ve'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayomer Moshe ko amar Adonai kachatzot halayla ani yotze betoch Mitzrayim umet kol bechor be'eretz Mitzrayim mi bechor paro hayoshev al kiso Ad bechor ashivcha asher achar harechaim v'chol bechor behema v'ayta tza'aka gdola bechol eretz Mitzrayim asher kamohu lo nihiyata v'chamohu lo tosif ulecho bnei Yisrael lo yecheratz kelev leshono lemeish ve'ad behema Leman tedun asher yafle Adonai ben Mitzrayim uvein Yisrael v'yardu chol avadecha elai v'ishtachavu li lemor tzeh v'chol ha'am asher b'raglecha v'achreichen etzeh v'yetzeh me'im paro b'choriaf Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lo yishma lechem paro leman revot movtai beretz Mitzrayim uMoshe ve'Aharon asu et kol hamoftim ha'ele lifnei Faro vayechazek Adonai et lev Paro ve'lo shilach et bnei Yisrael me'artzo.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chaye olam nata betochenu Baruch Ata Adonai noten HaTorah.
Amen. A Yasher Kochech and Shabbat Shalom to our first honoree this morning, Rochelle Pinkovich for the Rishon Aliyah. We move now to our second Aliyah, Sheni, and into our next chapter, where we'll spend the rest of the time for this Torah reading today. Chapter 12 in the book of Exodus, covering verses 1 through 10. It's on page 380 in the Etz Chaim Chumash. He won't be joining us by Zoom, but it's still a wonderful celebration. Paul Hentelef is commemorating his 90th birthday with us with this very special aliyah. We'll call him to the Torah in just a moment, and Bill will recite the blessings on his behalf. Paul, a very happy birthday and thrilled that you can celebrate it with us. Of course, we'll look forward to getting to celebrate together, but it's very, very special that you've chosen to mark such a milestone in your life with all of us here at Congregation Shered Zedek on this Shabbat morning. If what we're about to read over the next several aliyot seems familiar, that's because it should. A few weeks from now, really a couple of months from now, we'll have Pesach ourselves. Believe it or not, Pesach is at the end of March this year. It'll be here before you know it, 2 months. And as you probably know, for some of you Shabbat regulars, there are a few special Shabbatot leading up to Pesach where we add special readings from different places in the Torah to get us in the right mindset. The Shabbat right before Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the month of Nisan, the month in which Pesach happens, we read a special maftir portion, a very long portion from the Torah that comes from, you guessed it, Exodus chapter 12. It makes up, that long maftir actually makes up the next several aliyot, I think through the end of the 5th aliyah. That's how long a reading it is. That Shabbat is called Shabbat HaChodesh, and it's because the second line of what we're about to read, this very long reading on that day, let's get subdivided here, starts with HaChodesh Hazeh. Because, to this point, our ancestors, Bnei Israel, have not had a calendar. We know how important the calendar is in Jewish tradition. We know it's a fixture. We know about the moon. We know it plays an integral role. We know the sun is also kind of important because holidays have to happen in the right seasons. But until this moment, Bnei Israel have not had a calendar, have not had fixed and set times, have not had holidays. All of that stuff is still to come. But in order to be able to have a fixed celebration in the future, like Pesach, first a calendar needs to be established. So what's about to follow in the next several aliyot are all of the instructions for Bnei Israel to get a lamb, to keep a lamb, to slaughter a lamb, to spread the blood of the lamb on the doorposts and the lintel, all that stuff we know leading up to the 10th plague. But in order to give them which day to do this on and to set the stage, first God needs to establish for Moses and Bnei Israel a calendar. And that's why we're going to have this reading of HaChodesh Hazeh. Remember, also very important, Chodesh is the Hebrew word in modern Hebrew for a month. Rosh Chodesh, the first of the month. But in the context of the Torah, Chodesh is actually used by its original intention, which is a new moon. Chodesh means month, but it also means new moon. They're interchangeable because we know on the Hebrew calendar, a new month starts with each new moon. But the moon disappears, going through its cycle, and then the minute there's a glimmer, that is the new moon. And back in the time of the Sanhedrin, they needed 2 witnesses in order to attest the fact that there really was a new moon before the calendar got standardized. All of that has its origins right in what we're about to read now. So let's get to it. Page 380, Exodus chapter 12, verses 1 through 10, and a birthday aliyah for Paul Hentelef. Ya'amod Perez David ben Leka, l'aliyah hashniah.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Mevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Mevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, ve'natan lanu et torato. Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe vel Aharon beretz Mitzrayim lemor. HaChodesh hazeh lachem rosh chodashim. Rishon hu lachem lechodshei hashana. Dabru el kol adad Yisrael lemor be'asor lachodesh hazeh. Ve'yikhu lahem. Ish selavet avod selabait מממד הבית, מיון מסבל לקחו, ושכנו הקרוב אל ביתו במכסת נפשות, איש לפי אוכלו תחוסו על תמים, זכר בן שנה יהיה לכם, מן הכבשים ומן העזים תיקחו, והיה לכם למשמרת עד 14 יום לחודש הזה, ושחטו אותו כל קהל עדת ישראל בין 40. ולקחו מן הדם ונתנו על שתי המזוזות ועל המשקוף, על הבתים אשר יאכלו אותו בהם, ואכלו את הבשר בלילה הזה, צלי אש ומצות על מרורים יאכלו, אל תאכלו ממנו נא ובשל מבושל במים, כי אם צלי אש ראשו על קרעיו ועל קרבו, ולא תותירו ממנו עד בוקר, והנותר ממנו עד בוקר באש תשרופו.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen.
Happy birthday. Many, 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 many happy returns. Lovely to have you aboard here today.
We'll continue with our Torah study in just a moment, but let's pause for a special birthday Misha Berach and a Yasher Koach, Mazel Tov, and Yom Huledet Sameach to our second honoree this morning, celebrating his 90th, Paul Hentelef. Misha Berach, Avotenu, Avram Yitzchak, Yaakov, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, Hu Yavarech et Perez David ben Leika. שעלה היום לכבוד המקום ולכבוד התורה ולכבוד השבת, ולהודות על כל החסדים אשר גמלו אלוהים, מיום היוולדו עד היום הזה. הקדוש ברוך הוא ישמור אותו וכל משפחתו, וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיו, עם כל ישראל לך ונאמר Amen. May God, who blessed our ancestors, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, bless Paul Hentelef, Perez David ben Leika, who has come for an aliyah this morning with reverence for God and respect for the Torah in this Shabbat, grateful to God for the gift of life which he has enjoyed until this day. Paul, may the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be God, continue to bless you with length of years, with good health, with the pleasures of Torah study, and with the profound satisfaction that comes from a life of Ma'asim Tovim, that is a life of good deeds. In celebrating this milestone and other birthdays, may your example continue to remind us. People may count the days of their life, but a person of wisdom makes every day count. Again, Yasher Koach, Mazel Tov, Ad Mea Ve'esrim, and let us all say, Amen.
Amen.
Simin Tovu, Mazel Tovu, Mazel Tov, Simin Tov, Simin Tovu, Mazel Tovu, Mazel Tov, Simin Tov, Simin Tovu, Mazel Tovu, Mazel Tov, Simin Tov, Yehelanu, 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 Ulecho Yisrael, Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Ulecho Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Ulecho Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Ulecho Yisrael. Mazel Tov.
Mazel Tov.
We move on to Shlishi, our third aliyah this morning, page 382. Continuing in chapter 12 with verses 11-13. Another birthday, as Larry Fleischer has accepted the honor of the Shlishi Aliyah to commemorate his upcoming birthday. Not on Zoom. Bill will recite the blessings for him as well. As we continue here through this part in chapter 12, setting the scene for the very first ever Pesach. So much of this is very familiar, and things are standing out, I'm sure, as you go through it. But remember, my question, and we'll get to it, do we have the right English name? We're seeing this Hebrew word Pesach. That's the word that we're going to see, especially in this reading. And we've always just kind of assumed, Pesach, yeah, Passover, you know?
Interesting sound effect.
Not sure. Not sure if Passover is the best, but we'll see. We'll get into it. Again, chapter 12, verses 11 through 13, beginning on page 382. And Larry Fleischer, our honoree, celebrating his birthday. Ya'amod Aryeh Dov ben Michael v'Chana l'Aliyah hashliishit.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai Amvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai vorach leolam vaed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. Venatan lanu et torato. Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'chacha tochlu oto monechem chagorim nalechem beraglechem umakelchem beyedchem v'achaltem oto b'chipazon pesachu l'Adonai Ve'avarti beretz Mitzrayim b'layla hazeh v'hiketi chol bechor beretz Mitzrayim me'adam ve'ad behema uvechol Elohei Mitzrayim eseh shvatim ani Adonai ve'haya adam lachem leot al habatim asher atem sham v'raiti et hadam ufasachti alechem v'lo yeh vachem negef lemashchit behakoti beretz Mitzrayim.
Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chaye olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch ata Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. We'll continue studying the Parsha in a moment, but let's wish a Mazel Tov, Yasher Koach, and happy birthday to Larry Fleischer as we make this very special birthday Mishaberach. Mishaberach Avotenu Aram Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sar Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yivarech Et Aryeh Dov ben Michael v'Chana She'Allah Hayom Lichvod HaMakom v'Lichvod HaTorah v'Lichvod HaShabbat Ulehodot Al Kol HaChasadim Asher Gamalo Elohim Miyom Yivaldo Ad Hayom Hazeh HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yishmor Oto V'et Kol Mishpachto V'Yishlach Bracha v'Tzlacha B'chol Masei Yadav Im Kol Yisrael Elechav and Omar Amen. May God, who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, bless Larry Fleischer, Aryeh Dov ben Michael v'Chana, who has come for an aliyah this morning with reverence for God and respect for the Torah in this Shabbat, grateful to God for the gift of life which he has enjoyed until this day. Larry, may the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be God, continue to bless you with length of years, with good health, with the pleasures of Torah study, and with the profound satisfaction that comes from a life of Ma'asim Tovim, that is a life of good deeds. In celebrating this and other birthdays, may your example continue to remind us. People may count the days of their life, but a person of wisdom makes every day count. Mazel Tov again, Yasher Koach, happy birthday, Ad Mea Ve'asrim, and let us all say,
Amen.
Simin Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Simin Tov, Simin Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Simin Tov, Simin Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Simin Tov, Yehelanu, 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 Ulecho Yisrael, Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Ulecho Yisrael, Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Ulecho Yisrael. Yehi lanu, ulecho Yisrael.
Mazel tov, many happy returns.
Mazel tov, Larry. Happy birthday. Let's continue with Rivi'i, our fourth Aliyah, page 383 in the Etz Chaim Chumash. Still working through chapter 12, now verses 14 through 16. Now we'll start getting our Zoomers in for the next few Aliyot. Starting for this next one, this Rivi'i, with Sharon Siegel and Steve Moskovich, who are celebrating the recent births of their two grandchildren. Each of their sons both had babies in the last few months. It's very special for me, if I may jump in personally, because their one son, Daniel, and I grew up together and have been friends for forever. And I had the opportunity to officiate the weddings of both of their sons, with Daniel and Lindsay, which happened this past year in the pandemic in May. And they rolled with all the changes. We had a beautiful ceremony. And also with Noah and Bailey, who got married a couple years back. Both of these beautiful couples have had babies in the last little bit. Noah and Bailey Weinstock, Noah Moskovich and Bailey Weinstock welcomed in their daughter Layla in the last few months. And Daniel and his wife Lindsay Leipzig welcomed their son Milo recently as well. And so Sharon and Steve are joining us for this next Aliyah. The only thing I'm going to say about the Torah bit, I'll get to the Passover stuff in a few Aliyot, but all we know is this is the first time in the Torah we've ever seen the phrase Pesach. Remember, nowadays we associate Pesach with Pesach, Passover, this 7-day holiday with no bread, no leaven, all that stuff. But in the beginning, Pesach was just the name for the sacrifice. On the 14th of the month, at night, at dusk, this lamb, this roasted lamb, very interesting, right? Because no other sacrifices are roasted, they're always boiled, and that gets changed later on in the book of Dvarim. But here it's a roasted lamb with the bitter herbs, everybody ready to go, everybody going to eat in a hurry, and the matzah on the side too. The Pesach at the beginning was just the name for the sacrifice. So what is this name all about? We'll get to it. But for now, let's celebrate something very special for this Moskovich Siegel family and also for our entire Winnipeg Jewish community as we welcome Sharon and Steve in for our fourth Aliyah, page 383, verses 14 through 16. Yamdu Shoshana Leah Bat Avram Alevi V'Sholemes Ushlomo David Ben Shimon V'Chana Laliyah Harivit.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. V'haya hayom hazeh lachem lezikaron v'chagotem oto chag l'Adonai l'dorotechem chukat olam techoguhu shivat yamim matzot tochelu ach bayom harishon tashbitu seor mibatechem ki kol ochel chametz V'nichreta hanefesh ahim Yisrael miyom harishon ad yom hashvi'i uvayom harishon mikra kodesh uvayom hashvi'i mikra kodesh yeh lachem kol melacha lo yaseh vahem ach asher yechel b'chol nefesh hu levado yaseh lachem.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chaye olam nata b'tochenu, Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. What a wonderful occasion for two of our Shabbat morning regulars, Sharon and Steve, to join us this morning and celebrate not one but two very, very special births in their family as they became grandparents, doubled in a very short period of time, which is very, very cool. All the best from all of us here, and I know from the entire congregation, though the remarks flowing in on the chat. Thank you for taking this aliyah and for celebrating with all of us. And Mazel Tov to you and to your kids.
Lots of nachas from both for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course. It was wonderful at the baby naming ceremony that we did on Zoom for Layla, for Noah Moskovich and Bailey Weinstock's daughter. Sharon made the comment, Rabbi Matthew, I recognize you from Shabbat morning services. And I said, yes, that's right. You may have seen me. You may have seen me before. And I'm so glad that we got to do that and that we got to celebrate again this morning. So again, Mazel Tov. Let's move on to Chamishi, our fifth aliyah, page 385 in the Etz Chaim Chumash, verses 17 through 20. Bonnie Robinson, our former colleague and still one of our Shabbat morning regulars.
Still a colleague, isn't she?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah,
that's
she's still a
right.
colleague.
She's mostly retired.
Yeah, I know, but
So I just want to acknowledge that.
yeah, of course.
And though she fills in from time to time and does
I
a
know,
great job,
I know.
she is, as you heard earlier, celebrating her birthday as well. So we got another wonderful birthday to celebrate with this aliyah. Bonnie is going to join us on Zoom as we call her up to the Torah. Continuing here, as you saw, the stage is being set for this to be an annual commemoration with some of the rituals that we are familiar with. No working on the first day, no working on the seventh day, making sure you search beforehand, getting rid of all the leaven, no leaven, such a serious thing. If you have any leaven, you're cut off. The worst kind of penalty in the Torah, the worst kind of penalty in Jewish tradition, to be completely cut off. But again, here, Pesach is really just the name for the sacrifice. It's not the name for the holiday. In fact, in other places where the holidays are mentioned, the 7-day festival that begins on the 15th of the month, after, the morning after, or the day after the Pesach sacrifice, is Chag HaMatzot. Only later in the book of Dvarim do they kind of get blended into one. So we'll take a look in an aliyah or two at this name Pesach for an idea of, are we calling it the right name when we call this holiday Passover in English? But not yet. For now, let's welcome Bonnie Robinson in and celebrate her birthday. Again, page 385, verses 17 through 20, with this, the Chamishi, the fifth aliyah. Ta'amod Miriam bar Ephraim velvoveto, l'aliyah hachamishit.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol hamim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ushmartem et hamatzot ki בעצם היום הזה הוצאתי את צבאותיכם מארץ מצרים ושמרתם את היום הזה לדורותיכם חוקת עולם בראשון ב14 יום לחודש בערב תאכלו מצות עד יום 21 לחודש בערב shivad yamim seor lo yimatze bevatechem ki kol ochel machmetzet v'nichreta hanefesh hahi me'adad Yisrael bager uvezrach haaretz kol machmetzet lo tochelu bechol moshvotechem tochlu matzot.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chaye olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Mazel tov, Bonnie. Happy birthday. Asher
you.
kochech. We'll get to the Torah stuff in a moment, but let's make this very special Misha Berach for Bonnie Robinson's birthday. Misha Berach, Avoteinu, Avram Yitzchak, V'Yaakov, Sarif, Rachel, V'Leah, Hu Yivarech, Et Miriam, Bar Ephraim, Velvoveto, She'alta Hayom Lichvod HaMakom, V'Lichvod HaTorah, V'Lichvod HaShabbat, Ulehodod Al Kol HaChasadim, Asher Gamalai Elohim Miyom Hivaldad Hayom Hazeh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yishmor Otav Et Kol Mishpachta, V'Yishlach Bracha V'Tzlacha B'Chol Masei Yadeah, Im Kol Yisrael Achea V'Nomar Amen. May God, who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, bless Bonnie Robinson, Miriam, Bar Ephraim, Velvoveto, who has come for an aliyah this morning with reverence for God and respect for the Torah and this Shabbat, grateful to God for the gift of life which she has enjoyed until this day. Bonnie, may the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be God, continue to bless you with length of years, with good health, with the pleasures of Torah study, and with the profound satisfaction that comes from a life of ma'asim tovim, that is a life of good deeds. In celebrating this and other birthdays, may your example continue to remind us that people may count the days of their life, but a person of wisdom makes every day count. Mazel tov again, Bonnie. Asher kochech. Yom huledet sameach. And let us all say, Amen.
Amen.
Simen tovu, mazel tovu, mazel tovu, simen tovu, simen tovu, mazel tovu, mazel tovu, simen tovu, simen tovu, mazel tovu, mazel tovu, simen tovu, yehelanu, 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 ulecho Yisrael, yehelanu, yehelanu, ulecho Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Ulecho Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Ulecho Yisrael.
Rabbi, I think David Wilder nailed it. He says, happy 29th birthday, Bonnie. Welcome to the club.
I always felt Bonnie was younger than me.
Me
so
too.
It makes sense.
Rabbi, can
Yes.
I just say that the date of my birth on the secular calendar this year was very unique. It was the 21st day of the 21st year of the 21st century.
Woo!
Wow.
I think you should go out and buy a cake and eat it 21 times.
That's wild.
Sure.
I love when that sort of thing works out.
Happy
Cool.
birthday.
Well, hopefully it was a wonderful day on the secular
Yeah.
calendar, and thank you for allowing us to celebrate it as part of Shabbat morning here, Bonnie. All the
Mazel
best.
tov. Mazel tov.
Thank you for the honor.
Of course. We'll continue. Let's get back into the Torah here. She, our sixth aliyah, page 385, verses 21 through 24. Verses 1 through 20, that 20-verse set that was aliyah 2, 3, 4, and 5, that is the Maftir HaChodesh, the long Maftir for Shabbat HaChodesh, covering the beginning of the calendar and all of those preparations for Pesach. But we still have a little bit more here, which actually we do read as part of one of the Torah readings on one of the days of Pesach. And again, that word Pesach, we'll get to it, I promise. Should we be calling it Passover? By now you know I'm going to say no. But what should we be calling it? Don't have a great title, but at least I can mention why the title we have doesn't work so well. But we'll get to it. For now, let's go to Shishi, our sixth aliyah. Joining us on Zoom for this aliyah, they are commemorating a yortzeit this morning. We have Lynn Pollock and Debbie Pollock. Again, page 385, still in chapter 12, verses 21 through 24. Tamodna Leah bat Pinchas Halevi v'Rachel Udvora Gito bat Michael v'Leah Lalia Hashishit.
Now, Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Vorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol amim v'natan lanu Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayikra Moshe lechol ziknei Yisrael vayomer alehem mishchu ukechu lachem son lemishpechotechem v'shachatu hapasach ukachtem agudat ezov utvaltem badam asher basaf v'higatem el hamashkov ve'el shtei המזוזות מן הדם אשר בסף ואתם לא תצאו איש מפתח ביתו עד בוקר ועבר אדוני לנגוף מצרים וראה את הדם על המשקוף ועל שתי המזוזות ופסח אדוני על הפתח ולא ייתן המשחית לבוא אל בתיכם לנגוף ושמרתם את הדבר הזה לחוק לך ובניך עד עולם.
Now, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Beautiful to be able to have both of your voices, Debbie, Lynn, Yasher Kochachen, on this 6th Aliyah this morning. Thank you so much, and Shabbat Shalom to both of you.
Can I say a few
My
words?
mother would like to say a few words. Can you hear her? Go ahead, Mom.
And we shall love Adonai our God with all our hearts, with all our souls, and with all our might. And may God surround us all with his presence and his healing and keep us all safe.
Amen.
Amen.
Beautiful words, Lynn. Thank you
Beautiful,
so
Mom.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
That was a beautiful thought. Thanks again to Lynn Pollock. Those beautiful words. We'll turn to our last reading from the Torah, our last Aliyah in just a moment. Shvi'i Maftir, with Mary Hutchings joining us on Zoom for the Aliyah, for the blessings, as she will be reciting this morning's Haftarah. It's on page 386, chapter 12, verses 25 through 28. But I'm going to give you the payoff for everything I've been leading to right now. Because we saw it there in that last verse, we saw that Pesach, the name of this sacrifice, is referenced again, and it's tied into a verb, ufasach. That was what we read out of the Torah. I know you were following. Ufasach Hashem al hapetach v'lo yiten hamashchit lavo el batechem lingof. Quick side note, this concept hamashchit, the destroyer, this is a very difficult concept because I think a lot of us kind of think of the angel of death, but there's a lot of confusion, and there was in Talmudic times. The rabbis used to debate. I imagine there were fisticuffs. I have no corroborating evidence that some on one side felt that there was actually an angel of death, a destroyer, some kind of figure an angel who went through and did the smiting. But there are all these other references in even what we've read today where this destroyer is not mentioned at all, and it's God who goes through Egypt slaying the firstborn. So who was it? Was it God? Was it the angel? If you think back to the Haggadah, remember that part in the Haggadah? Not by a ministering angel, but by God, God's self. That was how the Haggadah resolved this ancient Talmudic debate of who exactly did the slaying. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. It's this verb, ufasach. So we know, what do we know? The sacrifice of the lamb is called the Pesach. It's connected to this Hebrew word with the same three letters, Pe, Samech, Chet, Pasach, that we've always just translated as, and God passed over the houses of Bnei Israel. When what we just read is translated in the Haggadah. But wait.
Are you ready?
I brought. How do these scholars of the ancient times of the past translate words that are a little bit obscure or aren't, present all the time, like a word like Pesach? What would they do? How would they translate it? They would find other references in the Tanakh, in the Bible, where the same word is used. And the word Pasach, or actually in the form Pasoach, is used very well in a line in the book of Isaiah. In the Hebrew, Kitziporim afot ken yagen Adonai tzvaot al Yerushalayim ganon vehitzil pasoach vehimlit. Like the birds that fly, Kitziporim afot, even so will the Lord of hosts shield Jerusalem, ganon, save Jerusalem, hitzil, pasoach, and vehimlit. Himlit is rescuing. So passing over doesn't really fit. Think about it. Like the birds that fly, okay, maybe. Even so will Adonai Tzvaot shield Jerusalem, shielding and saving, passing over and rescuing. A better translation of pasoach here, and probably pasach and pesach in our reading today, is the word protect. It's not so much that God passed over the houses of Bnei Israel, but if you use the context of that line from Isaiah, passing over, protecting. Protecting. It's an active verb. It's way more than the passiveness of passing over. It's protection. Now we know Pasach led us to Paschal, like the Paschal lamb, the Paschal sacrifice. Even the name for Easter in French is based on the same word. Pâques, right? Isn't that how they say it? I'm not good with French. But Passover, the name that we use to call our holiday, maybe it sounds better than calling it the holiday of protection, but it really changes your idea when you read it and you think, maybe we've been using the wrong translation all these years.
Or Rabbi, maybe there's a combination of both a little bit. Passing over to protect. I don't know. That could be a discussion point.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, you talked about you didn't know whether there were any fisticuffs involved in the discussion. But I think we can guarantee there were some loud words.
Oh, I'm sure. It certainly is a debate. I find it very interesting. I hope you do too. A lot of places that you'll read will say that maybe Passover wasn't the best name for the offering or for the holiday, but to think of it as a protective offering, trying to get God's protection during the 10th plague.
Shikoyach. Nice done.
There you go. Let's get to our last reading. Mary Hutchings will zoom in for the final aliyah. Again, page 386, now verses 25 through 28. Ta'amod serach bar Avram v'Sarah, maftirach hizki.
Baruch atah Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Vorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
Amen. V'haya ki tavo'u el haaretz, asher yiten Adonai lachem kasher diber, ushmartem et havodah hazot. V'haya ki yomru alechem b'nechem ma havodah hazot lachem, v'amartem Hashem, Zevach Pesachu l'Adonai, Asher Pasach, Al Batei V'nei Yisrael b'Mitzrayim, Benog Po Mitzrayim V'Batenu Hitzil, Vayikoram Vayishtachavu, Vayelchu Vayasu B'nei Yisrael, Kasher Tziva Adonai, Moshe v'Aharon, Kenasu.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chaye olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. Yashir Kochech to Mary Hutchings on this Aliyah. Stay tuned. In just a moment, Mary will continue with the Haftarah for the Parsha of Bo, which comes from the book of Jeremiah. It's on page 395 in your Etz Chaim Chumash, page 395. And from Jeremiah, it's chapter 46, verses 13 through 28. The Torah reading for today's triennial cycle ends on a great note. Again, references to that word that we've been studying really today. Thank you for indulging me on that. I hope you enjoyed that little shiur, that little lesson. But also, it looks forward to one of the biggest parts of Jewish tradition, but certainly for for Pesach, for the Haggadah, when your children ask you, what's this all about? Be ready, and this is what you shall tell them. Because God, whether it was passing over or protecting us and our ancestors, what we reenact every year, that is why we do what we do all of these centuries, all of these millennia later. I invite you to rise. Yashir Koach to everyone again who had an aliyah and was part of our Torah service, to the birthdays, to the babies, and also for the yortzites that are being commemorated. Thank you for joining us and for adding so much life into this Torah service. But for now, we invite you to rise with our Shamus Bill Wiseman for Hagba and Glila, the lifting and tying of the Sefer Torah. Vezot HaTorah asher sam Moshe livnei b'nei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah udvar Adonai miYerushalayim. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah udvar Adonai miYerushalayim. Baruch Shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael. Baruch Shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Please be seated. Now it's an honor to welcome back for another chanting of the Haftarah for Shabbat morning, for today, for Parsha Bo, Mary Hutchings, joining us on Zoom. Mary, take it away.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar b'mi'im tovim, v'ratza v'divrehem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai Abocher b'Torah u'Moshe abdo u'Yisrael amo u'Vinvi'eh ha'emet b'tzedek.
Amen.
Hadavar asher diber Adonai El Yirmiyahu Hanavi Lavo Nebuchadrezzar Melech Bavel Lehakot et Eretz Mitzrayim Hagidu v'Mitzrayim ve'ashmiu v'migdol ve'ashmiu v'nof uvtak panches imru hityatzef ve'achen lach ki achlach erev sevivecha Madua nischaf abirecha lo amad ki Adonai hadafo. Hirba koshel gam nafal ish re'ehu vayomru kuma venashuva elamenu ve'el eretz molatenu mipnei cherev hayona kareu sham Paro melech Mitzrayim Shaon ha'evir hamoed Chai ani neum hamelech Adonai Tzevaot Shemo Ki ketavor beharim uchekarmel bayam yavo Kele gola silach Yoshevet bat Mitzrayim Kinov neshama tiyeh benitzatam ein Yoshev Egla yefepiyah Mitzrayim Keretz mitzafon bava Gam sechirecha vekirba kegle marbek Ki gam hema ifnu nasu yaktav lo amadu ki yom edam balehem et pekudatam kola kanachash yelech kivechayil yelechu uvkardumot ba'ula kechotve etzim kartu yara neum Adonai kilo yechaker ki rabu me'arbe ve'en lahem mispar Hovisha bat Mitzrayim nitna beyad am tzafon Amar Adonai Tzvaot Elohei Israel Hineni foked elamon mino Ve'al paro ve'al Mitzrayim ve'al Elohecha ve'al melechecha ve'al paro ve'al habotechim ve'al habotechim bo Untatim beyad nevekeshe nafsham uvyad Nebuchadrezzar melech Bavel uvyad avadav ve'acharechin tishkon kemi kedem neum Adonai Ve'ata al tira avdi Yaakov ve'al techat Yisrael ki hineni moshiacha merachok vetzaracha me'eretz shivyam veshav Yaakov veshakat vesha'anan ben macharid Ata al tira avdi Yaakov ne'om Adonai ki itecha ani ki ese chala bechol hagoyim asher hidakticha shama ve'otecha lo ese chala ve'isarticha lamishpat venake lo anakecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzur kol haolamim tzadik bekol hadorot ha'el haneman haomer ve'oseh hamedaber mekayem shekol devarav emet v'tzedek Ne'eman atahu Adonai Eloheinu v'ne'emanim devarecha devar echad midevarecha achor lo yashuv rekam ki hamelech ne'eman v'racham elnata Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch
Baruch,
Love, Rachim, Al Tzion ki beit chayenu, Vlaluvat nefesh toshia, Bimera ve'amenu, Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Shemo.
Nesameh Tzion bevanecha.
Amen.
Samchenu Adonai Eloheinu Beliahu Hanavi Avdecha Umalchut David Meshichecha Bimera Yavo V'yagel libenu al kisolo yeshev zar v'lo yinchalu od acharim et kovodo ki v'shem kodeshecha nishbata lo shelo yikbenero leolam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch Shemo.
Magen David
Amen.
Be'al havodah Be'al hanvi'im Be'al yom hashabbat hazeh Shanatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu Likdusha v'lemenucha Lechavod u'letifaret Alakol Adonai Eloheinu Anaknu modim lach Umevarachim otak Yitbarak shimcha Befi kol chai tamid leolam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch Shemo.
Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen.
Beautiful.
Yesher kochech
Wow.
to you, Mary Hutchings. That was an absolutely beautiful rendition of the Haftarah. Thank you so much for agreeing to do that and for doing it this morning. It's wonderful. I see the comments on the chat. A lot of great interaction this morning, including some congratulatory words for Mary on an outstanding job of the Haftarah. To conclude our study of Scripture for this morning, our Torah service. We'll put the Torah back in the ark in a moment, but let's go back to our Siddur and turn to page 34 and join Leslie Emery, the lay clergy, with the special Misha Berach, the Debbie Friedman version for all those who are ill. If you have names you'd like to add to our list, I'll start with the list we have from the office, which you can add to for 4 Shabbatot, 4 weeks, a month at a time. Or you can add names in our chat this morning. Let's start with our list, and then we'll continue on. This morning we pray for Esther bat Mina, Sarah bat Esther, Yaakov ben Sarah, Shoshana bat Sarah, Adrian McDonald, Frida bat Regina, Moshe Aharon ben Leah, Miriam Rachel bat Leah, Rishon ben Sarah, Mituka bat Batsheva, Atara bat Etel, Shmueleh ben Gitel, Stephen Lee, Leah bat Adel, Colin Rich, Leah bat Rachel, Dvorah Gitel bat Leah, Binyamin Pinchas ben Dvorah Gitel, Nahum Le ben Leah, Aviva bat Malka, Yaakov ben Sion ben Miriam, Isabella bat Sarah, Chaya Zahava bat Leah, Batsheva bat Sarah, Avram Yehoshua Heschel ben Dvorah Leah, David ben Batya, Don Calhoun, Mary Bender, Jane York, Esther Leah bat Menicha, Bela bat Sonia, Israel Chaim ben Shira Naomi, Katriel Yosef ben Tova Yael, Eliezer Meir ben Tova Yael bat Dina Rachel, Yitzchak Chaim ben Sarah, Dina Rachel bat Sarah Esther, David Tzvi ben Sarah Pesel, Liba bat Gitel, Alfie Glass, Rachel bat Sonia, Shendel bat Miriam, Hachazan Shefer ben Miriam, Shira bat Sarah, Sharon bat Goldie, Liba bat Fagel, Elokim Pesach ben Esther Pesi, and Yitzchak Dov ben Bela. Leslie.
Neil Roy, Toby Wilson, Herbert Singer, Tina Shem Tov, Carla bat Nancy, Andres ben Gloria, Temi bat Rochel, Sam's List, Yochanan ben Esther, Ilana Rachel bat Eleanor, Maya bat Rivka, Eliezer ben Sarah, Carlos ben Emery, Michelle Sipe. Let's join together in Debbie Friedman's Misha Berach prayer. Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Amen.
Yisher Kochech, Leslie. Thank you.
Baruch Tieh.
We invite you to rise. Welcome Rabbi Mas back to the Bima as we return the Sefer Torah to the Ark. Page 41, Yehallelu.
יהללו את שם אדוני, כי נשגב שמו לבדו.
הודו על ארץ ושמיים, וירם קרן לעמו. תהילה, תהילה לכל חסידה, לבני ישראל הקרבות. הללויה,
page 43. Etz chaimi lamachazikim ba betom keha meushar derachea darecheno vechol divodeha shalom hashiveinu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Kadesh Yameinu Kadesh Yameinu Kadesh Yameinu Kekede.
You may be seated. Rabbi, please.
Rabbi, we have announcements?
Nothing. I want to go to the Dvar. I'm ready for you. I want you. There's no big announcements. Minyan tonight at 6. Minyan tomorrow, 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. 7:30 a.m. during the week, and 6 p.m. for Mincha Mariv. Kabbalat Shabbat is at 5:30 and Shabbat morning at 10. This is my last Shabbat morning for, until March. I mentioned last night, so I'm thankful to the team. I want to thank Rabbi Mas, Leslie, and Bill, and Marvin for today, for every Shabbat, and for giving me the opportunity to take some time as my wife and I are expecting a baby.
She's expecting.
Yes, that's right. And
Easy for you to say.
and I guess the one other thing that I did notice, you're right, Rabbi, was that we do have an incredible education series going on right now. It started this past week. It's a very, very relevant topic for what we're going through right now in the world. Jewish biomedical ethics, COVID and the allocation of resources
That was number 1.
was the first one
Yes.
with Rabbi Stephen Warnick this past week.
And it was great, but at the end, when we started to talk about triaging,
Yeah.
we ran out of time.
Well, that's
So
good.
we had lots of questions, but no time. So we decided to continue the conversation.
So your son from Argentina,
Chile.
from Chile, is going to join us, Marcelo Mas Lindenbaum, son of Rabbi Mas. Maybe some Winnipeggers remember him when he was just little Marcelo. And he is he's a doctor. He's a med student now.
6th year.
Unbelievable. So he is going to join us for this week's topic coming up, triaging who gets treated first. This Tuesday, 7:30. So that's pretty cool. And we have some Tu B'Shvat events coming up that we can tell you about and you can find out about on our website, Facebook page, email announcements. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page and make sure you're on the list to get our emails. And you'll see about some fun some fun Tu B'Shvat activities coming as well. All right. There's some announcements for you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
You're up, Rabbi.
You give me the announcements, I will give you the joke.
Oh. Yay!
This is about a newlywed couple. They moved to a new house. And in the middle of the night, the wife wakes up and said to the husband, I think there is a person downstairs. I said, no, it's middle of the night. It's dark. I tell you, there is nobody there. Yeah, I can hear. There is somebody downstairs. Okay, so he goes downstairs. Nobody there. He comes back. I said, there is nobody there. I told you so. Okay, so they went back to sleep. The problem is the same routine started to repeat night after night. In the middle of the night, she will wake up and say, go, there is somebody downstairs. Go check. And he will go downstairs in the middle of the night. Said, going back, then I told you, there is nobody there. Well, this went on for 35 years. 35 years. And then one night, again, she said, I think there is somebody downstairs. No, it's too dark, middle of the night. Go check. Okay, he went downstairs, and there was a person robbing the house. When the robber looks at this guy, he gets spooked. and tried to run away. I said, whoa, 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 whoa. Where do you think you're going? You have to come upstairs to meet my wife. She's been expecting you for 35 years. So I want to talk to you today about don't mind your own business. Yeah, you heard me right. Don't mind your own business. And I mention this because, I don't know, probably many of you have been living in North America for way longer than me. But I'm pretty sure that one of the most common phrases that people say around is, mind your own business. Okay? Or sometimes it's, none of my business. Mind your own business. Very common. I guess we have similar phrases in South America, but I couldn't exactly remember how we say it. But the same concept is repeated pretty much, it's cross-cultural. Everybody will have a similar phrase. To set boundaries and to make it clear that you have your issues, I have my own. Now, this is not something new, of course. You can go 2,000 years ago, the Mishnah already talks about it. There is a beautiful passage on Pirkei Avot, the chapter 5. And Pirkei Avot is saying there are 4 types of people. I said, character number 1, the one who says, mine is mine, yours is yours. And then Pirkei Avot says, that's the average. But some say that that was the character of people from the city of Sodom. The Sodomites, they said, they used to say, mine is mine and yours is yours. Kind of harsh, yet. More to come. Wait for it. Then they said, second personality are the one who says, mine is yours, yours is mine. When the Mishnah said, those are unlearned. Those are people who didn't learn anything. You know, if you go try to live your life like that, saying, mine is yours and yours is mine, you won't go much far. You won't have it easy, right? So if you haven't learned that by now, then you should, because that's not the way the world works. And then people who says, mine is yours. Yours is yours. The Mishnah said those are the pious ones. In fact, they compared that with our patriarchs and our matriarchs, the one who always have their houses open for everybody without asking any retribution. And then this is the one who said, mine is mine, yours is mine. Those are the wicked, the evil. And that represents the generation of the flood, when God has destroyed the humanity. But it's interesting. Let's go back to the first one. Why we say, mine is mine, yours is yours, is the characteristic of people of Sodom. It seems to be like normal people. That's what they do. That's what society does, and we are doing pretty much okay. And the rabbi said, yeah, a society can work like that, but only if mine is mine and yours is yours is the average. Because that means that there are people that they are above average. That there are people who live this life like our patriarchs, saying, mine is yours, yours is yours. And as long as we have such people in every generation, then we are okay. But the problem is that they were saying that the problem with Sodom is mine is mine and yours is yours became a law. And everybody was the same. If everybody is like that in a society, we cannot do much. And the rabbi said we need more people like Abraham and Sarah, that they will open the doors for everybody. They will open their heart, and they were always there helping others without expecting any retribution. But there is something very interesting in this week's Parsha, because we read the last 3 plagues, and the second last was Choshech, darkness. And the way the Parsha talks about this plague is connected to this concept of mind your own business. It says that after the plague started, and I quote what the Torah says, says, they did not see each other, nor their rise from their place for 3 days. Based on that, Midrash Rabbah, it will say that the way we have to understand this verse is that there were two segments of 3 days each. The first 3 days, they didn't see each other. The last 3 days, they couldn't move from whatever they were. If they were in a chair, they had to stay there. If they were in bed, they had to stay there. If they were standing, they had to stay there. They couldn't move for the last 3 days. Doesn't seem like much. But then the Midrash said, we should look closely at what happened there. For the first 3 days, they did not see each other. The sense that they didn't care about what happened with the other people. All they care is what happened with themselves. Hey, I have enough with the darkness around here. I'm sorry you are having some problem with darkness over there, but mine is mine, yours is yours. Mind your own business, I'm minding my own. And that happened for the first 3 days. But the second 3 days, said the Midrash, even if they wanted to help somebody else, they couldn't. It was too late. But you see, the number 3 is a number that, according to the rabbis, is very important. It's very special. Because they will say that, I don't know if you're familiar with this halakha, that if you do something 3 times in a row, becomes like a vow, like a promise, something that then you cannot change it. In other words, the teaching is when you repeat something multiple times, it becomes your nature. It becomes you. So the number 3 is symbolic of that something that becomes your nature. That's why, for example, we have 3 generations of the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and then that's it, right? But that was enough to keep Judaism rolling. But we needed the first 3 to make it happen. So number 3 is very important. And here in this parsha, what they say is these 3 days that they did not see each other, these 3 days that they mind their own business became their nature. And then it became very difficult to change, to the point that they couldn't change even if they wanted to. They couldn't help others because they were already too familiar with the mind your own business. We have to be very careful what we do. We have to be very careful of our habits. Because whenever we have a problem, whenever we have a challenge, whenever we have a difficulty, the first thing we do in every aspect of life is to go back to whatever is familiar to us. It's not a coincidence that sometimes when we have a big failure or a divorce, what most people do is they go back to the house where they grew up or to the city where they grew up, to whatever is familiar. So whenever we have a challenge in our lives, we also go to the emotions that they are familiar to us. So that's why sometimes whenever we go through challenges, mind your own business. Why? Because we are familiar with that. That's our nature. And we have to do whatever we can to change that. And that's why I believe the next plague, death of the firstborn, God commanded to the Israelites to be different from the Egyptians. God said, you have to prepare a lamb. Rabbi Lai will talk about that. Korban Pesach. But God said to them, it's not just preparing the lamb. You have to be sure that you can share that lamb with somebody else. It says if the lamb is too much for you, share it with the neighbor next door. You see, he doesn't say, if you don't have lamb, go find somebody who has it. No, put it the other way around. You have to be sure that you can help somebody else before they knock at your door. In other words, all the opposite from mind your own business. This is a wonderful thing. And this is what happened right before they left Egypt. This is a seed that God planted on their lives. So that will become their nature. And whenever they will have a difficulty in the future, hopefully they will go back to that familiar place, a place of chesed, a place of helping others. Because at the end of the day, when we have a challenge, that's what we should do. Not so much concentrating in ourselves, but trying to help others as well. So this parsha, that we're about to leave Egypt, we have to remember once again that Egypt is not about Pharaoh with a whip. There is also leaving behind bad habits that once upon a time were our nature, but hopefully they are not our nature anymore. So, yeah, go ahead and mind somebody else's business if what you're trying to do is to help them. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi Mas. Yesher Koach, the Dvar Torah. I like how you brought it all together there. We'll conclude our service. We turn to page 44 for Aleinu. We invite you, wherever you are, join us. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות אדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומשב יקרוב השמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אינו, אבן מלכנו וזולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום בהשבותה אל לבביך, היא אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
We ask you to remain standing for the mourner's Kaddish, which is found on page 46. This week we mourn the passing of Rose Appel and offer our heartfelt sympathy to Alan and Pam Appel, Brian Appel and Paula Glickman, Fred Appel and Marilyn Besner, and to Saul Rifkin. We also mourn the passing of Lynn Chapman and offer our sincere condolences to Larry Chapman, Adrienne Stetch, Beth Pasishnik, and Molly Pasishnik. And we mourn the passing of Corinne Ackerman. We offer our deepest sympathy to Harvey Ackerman, Corey and Amanda Ackerman, Ian Wiesa, Ernie Nairn and Bernice Chorney, to Lois Ackerman, and to Roz Nairn. We extend our condolences to families in Shloshim, families still in the first month in which they've lost their loved ones, to the families of Marcia Schwartzman and Evelyn Numero, David Rabb, Israel Sudi Kleiman, and Arnold Cooper. This week at Congregation Shered Zedek, we commemorate the following yard sites. Jocelyn Stern Cates, daughter of Donnie Stern. Harvey Sawyer, husband of Toby Sawyer. Rose Bell, mother of Lynn Pollock, grandmother of Debbie Pollock, great-grandmother of Benny Pollock. Sonia Schachter, mother of Diane Wilder. Mindel Heft, grandmother of Rochelle Pinkovich. Max Riesch, brother of Lorraine Reiner. And Eleanor Joseph, mother of Rhonda Levinson, grandmother of Stacy Bazak, all of blessed memory. Again on page 46, please join us in the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Amen.
Be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'alam Ulamei Amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal Shemei Dekudsha Richu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehei Shlama Rabbah min Shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
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 Oseh shalom b'mromav. V'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated, and let's join together for one last song, one last prayer. Adon Olam.
You can pick today.
No, you get to pick.
But before you guys both pick,
Yes,
can
Bill.
we say to you, Rabbi Leibel, have a wonderfully great month.
Thank
I
you.
know it's going to be a lot of work.
Sure.
I know you already are overwhelmed with family who's around you. But you shall have a wonderful time. All the very best to your wife and to you.
Thank you. And there have been some beautiful messages today, last night, for a while. Thank you to everyone in the congregation. We're very excited.
Yeah, it's
It's going to be fun.
It is a great time.
It is.
Yep.
So hopefully you will come back relaxed and rested.
Right.
Somehow I doubt it, but
I doubt it
hey,
too.
a wish is a wish, right?
That's right. Well, thank you for that wish. I doubt it. I think it'll be tricky, but maybe not. It's good to
Either
go into
way-
these things expecting it to be tough.
Of course, but either way, it's going to be meaningful,
Yeah.
beautiful, and you'll never
right.
forget it. Enjoy.
I'm looking forward to it.
Especially this year. Especially this year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
All the very best.
Thank you very much, everyone. Great team here. Rabbi Moss, Bill Wiseman, Leslie Emery, Marvin Polanski. They make Shabbat morning possible. I mean, they're fantastic. So what more can I say?
Okay, you both pick.
I have one here that I thought you were going to pick.
Well, let's hear
I
it.
turned to the page that I thought you were
Okay.
going to pick.
I guess I will guess by the intro.
Okay.
That's good.
Solzim!
Woo!
אדון עולם אשר מלך, בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא וחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ואחרי ככלות הכל,
ככלות הכל,
לבדו, ימלוך נורא,
ימלוך נורא,
והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה. אדון עולם אשר מלך, בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא וחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, והוא אחד, ואין שני, להמשיל לו, להכבירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה. אדון עולם אשר מלך, בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא וחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, והוא אלי, וחי גואלים, וצור חבלים, והצרה, והוא ניסי ומנוסי, בין הכוסים ביום אקרא. אדון עולם אשר מלך, בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא. בידו אפקיד רוחי, ותשע בעירה, ועם רוחי גביעתי, אדוני לי ולא יירא. Everybody! אדון עולם אשר מלך, בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא.
Shabbat shalom,
Shabbat shalom,
everyone.
everyone.
Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.